Hey Doc, welcome. My name is Dr. Richard Avery, also known as the Effortless Clinic Coach. In this video, I'm going to reveal the one simple thing that will dramatically increase the perceived value of your practice when your consults or your potential patients pick up your brochures. All right? Now, as we all know, it is a perceived value that people have of your clinic that will get them to sign up for your services, okay? You know, one of the most common questions I get is all the time, they go, Doctor or Richard, how do you close your consults? How do you present your fees to your potential patients where they'll sign up for your care? Let me tell you something. The close does not start at the moment that you present your fees. In fact, that's the last part of the close. The close actually starts from the very moment that your potential patients learn about your clinic to the very moment that that consult signs up for your care. So that entire course is the close. In fact, presenting your fees is actually the simplest thing to do in the entire close. All right? So listen, I won't talk about that, but what I'm going to talk about is the one thing that you can do to your brochures, in fact, all your material, to increase that perceived value. Before I do, actually, let me say this one thing. Stay to the end, because I'm going to show you the one thing that I use that costs me $2 that allows me to charge a product that costs $22 to charging $200, and I give it to every single patient. All right? Now listen, what I'm going to teach you right now, you can learn on my free master webinar. The link is right here. Actually, I'll put it in the show notes instead. Just click on that. It's a free master webinar where I teach you how to convert your consults into new patients so you have an 85% success rate, where I teach you how to get your consults to sell themselves on your care, where you never have to sell, never persuade or convince your consults to undergo your care. Okay, the link's below. But before I get into that one thing that you need to do to increase the perceived value of your clinic, let me give you a real quick example of what I'm talking about, a real world example, and then when I present it, talk about it with the brochure, it'll make complete sense to you. Okay, so imagine a stranger comes up to you and presents two boxes to you. And he says, you know what, whichever box you pick, you can keep the contents on the inside. Okay, now the boxes are the exact same shape. They're wrapped with the exact same wrapping paper. There is no difference. So you pick up the first box. And what's the first thing you do? You immediately feel the weight of it, right? And then you shake it, right? Well, the first box, you know, it's pretty light. It's not a lot of, you know, it doesn't feel solid. It's just kind of light. You shake it, you don't hear a noise. You say, okay, you put it down, you grab the other one. Now, when you grab the other one, there's a certain degree of weight to it. It's much heavier. It feels solid, right? You shake it, there's still no sound. And you shake it again, still no sound, but it feels pretty solid. Based on that and that alone, which box would you most likely choose? You choose the heavier one, right? The reason why you do, instinctively, you don't know what's inside, but instinctively, you pick the heavier one because automatically, from the psychological perspective, the heavier item, you immediately put more value to it. Why is that? Well, what that's called is called the weight heuristic effect. Some people call it the endowment effect, but it's either one or the two. Okay, weight heuristic effect or the endowment effect. And that simply means that you put more value on something that weighs more. So how does that apply to your brochures and things of that nature? Well, here are two of my brochures, okay? My first one here, this was actually a mistake by my printer. They didn't listen to my receptionist's instructions. But really, the contents of the brochure is really secondary, okay? Now, I create these myself. I design these all myself, whatever. But this is a typical brochure minus a design that you will typically find in an office. Probably your office as well, right? You know, it's glossy. It's this thin, flimsy material that you pick up, this light, flimsy material. The reason why I don't like it is because it's like the first box that you picked up in that example. It's just light. There's no resistance to it. It just feels like garbage, okay? It may look nice, but it just feels like garbage, right? Whereas, when you pick up my typical brochure, as you can see, I'll even make the sound. Look. If I tap it against my table, you'll notice the difference, see? just soft, right? Tap this on, it's solid. Why is it? Because the material I use is cardstock. It's a heavier cardstock weighted brochure. You can even sound. It even sounds like cardboard, right? Okay. As soon as someone picks this up, they will instantly see my clinic with greater perceived value because it just weighs more. Feels like quality. It is quality. It's solid. That's the kind of clinic that I'm trying to present to my patients. Everything that I offer is quality. From my front end to the hallway to everything that you see, everything in my clinic, by and large, is pretty high quality because it allows me to, again, have greater perceived value with my potential patients, but it also allows me to charge much higher fees that I feel are justified for my care, and that allows me to have an 87% success rate, okay? So I have a very, very high success rate. And one of the reasons is I've used that principle of the weight heuristic effect, and that is weighted things, heavier weighted things, give your potential consults, your potential patients, higher perceived value when it comes to your clinic. Now, how can you use this in other areas of your office? Now, listen, if you use traditional, old school patient intake forms where people have to write out their information, you know, a lot of people use tablets. I personally prefer the patient to write it down. Now, I'll explain to you why I do that, but I'll explain in another video down the road where I'll talk to you about my patient intake form, why it's so effective, why it helps me have such a high conversion rate. And what I teach you, like I said, everything I teach you is effortless, and it's really, really simple things to do. But anyways, I'm going on a tangent. Okay, so typically, and I've gone to a lot of different chiropractic offices because they asked me to kind of give them assessment of their clinics and stuff like that. But what do they typically have? They use these cheap Bic pens for their consults to write down their information on their intake forms, right? It's cheap, it's light, it doesn't even write very well, it's just garbage. You got to get rid of these. If you're using these right now, get rid of them right away. Because again, it's decreasing that perceived value of your clinic. It's just making your clinic look cheap, okay? What do I use instead? I have these customized pens. Now these pens, I have my clinic information, so they're customized with my branding. But these pens are obviously heavier. They look nicer. They write beautifully. In fact, patients take these all the time from my office, which I encourage them to do so they can help promote my office. They also have a little stylus at the end here, so it's pretty cool. So when they're using their tablets or their iPhones or whatever, their phones, they can use the stylus. It's brilliant. Hey, people love them. Show them off. It just, again, it makes my clinic it just puts my clinic in that greater of a light, okay? Also, clipboards, if you're still using your patient intake forms and stuff like that, do not use these cheap, god-awful, flimsy, dollar store clipboards, okay? Again, it's just making your clinic look cheap, and it's causing it to be just an uphill battle to get your consults signed up for your care. Especially, again, remember, people are coming to you for their health, which is generally the most important thing that they have that they want to take care of. They don't want to go to this second-rate clinic. They think, you know what, I don't know if it's going to help me. And so they take a chance because maybe your fees are cheap. You know what do I got to lose? You don't want to be one of those clinics, what I call what do I got to lose clinics, right? Where they just, you know, it's only $25 an adjustment, whatever, I can do it. Oh, my insurance will cover it, what do I got to lose? You don't want to be one of those clinics. You want to be a clinic where you have, again, high perceived value, where they see you as their best option to go to that's going to give them the results that they've been desperately seeking. That way, they can bypass all the other practices, all the other clinics, physios, massage, all those other things to come to your clinic specifically. As you probably already heard, as I've mentioned in other videos, my clinic typical patient base comes from an hour and a half away to come to my clinic specifically. Why is that? Because what I've done is I position my clinic as the go-to clinic. I am like the premier clinic. So people will bypass all these other practices, come to my office, pay a lot higher fees for my services because of the perceived value, and I'll talk about other things. And listen, if you want to learn how I grew my practice, what I did, and I did this specifically for you, I grew my practice about 3 years ago, right before COVID, because I woke up one day and I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open up a practice. I'm going to show you just how easy it is to grow a practice from what I did from a single clinic where I spent $6,000 or $7,000 to start my practice to grow my clinic within 60 days, less than 60 days, I profited. I netted $25,000 a month. I grew my clinic twice in 3 years during the pandemic, where now I have the clinic that I have here. And I'll show you exactly how I did it. What I did from the very start of this video course is I video documented everything from the moment I thought about my clinic to getting my clinic space, getting my equipment, developing my name or creating my name, developing a website, putting out my marketing. I show you everything step by step. I show you how, before I even opened my office, for the very first time, I had my clinic fully booked, my schedule fully booked with consults wanting to start my care even before I opened my doors. And I show you exactly how I did all my marketing so you can do the exact same thing. And if you just follow what I did, even just generally, you too can have $1 million clinic. All right? So now I just totally lost track of what I was saying. Oh yeah. So yeah, that's how I do my practice. Well, sometimes I go on tangents, man. I got to really stay focused. But anyways, let me show you the one thing that I use that costs me $2 that allows me to sell a product from $22 to almost $200. The exact number is $197, okay? And that is this right here, okay? What I did was a product that I use to sell, I got rid of the typical, I guess, the packaging that it comes with, okay? Instead, what I did, I branded this envelope, this package, that I put the product in there that dramatically increases the value of what I put in here. Like I said, I go from paying $22 to charging $197. And really all this is just simply a shoe bag. That's all it is. Now it's nice quality, it's good, rugged, the zipper is really good quality. I branded it with my clinic information, and I'll tell you, this $2 item allows me to charge $200, and I give this to every single patient that walks into my office, okay? And I show you in my Effortless Clinic Build course, and you can get, if you go to my website, the Effortless, no, what the hell is my website? The Clinic Build Formula, again, it's right here, the Clinic Build Formula, and again, it's in the show notes. I'll show you how you can get that course absolutely free, all right? So check it out, the Clinic Build Formula. Check out the website, and you'll see the link. It's called the Effortless Clinic Build course. So again, going back and summarizing everything, think about the weight heuristic effect. Have heavier stock, have weighted material, pens, clipboards, brochures, especially brochures, because everybody grabs brochures, right? Make sure it is of good quality, all right? Even your paperwork, I use like 96 pound paper. I think the average is what, 92 or less, 88 pounds. Use a heavier weighted paper stock. I think, like I said, it's 96 pounds I use. All right, so weight heuristic effect, it will make your conversion much, much easier. And listen, if you haven't already signed up for my free master webinar, click on the link below. It's generally always sold out. I max it out to 50 attendees. And I promise, after going through, if you're like the vast majority of doctors that have signed up and watched my webinar, you'll be absolutely blown away by what you'll learn. And it will dramatically increase your conversion right away. So if you watch on the weekend or whatever, if I go live on the weekend, by Monday, you'll see massive, massive changes. All right? So you can check that out. The link is below. Also my website, the Clinic Build Formula. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video, docs.